Okay, so in this video I'll be talking about how I used media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages of my A2 media course. So in the planning and researching stage, I use this technology called Blogger. It's a website that you can use to blog your own posts, funny enough. It allows me to upload videos, just plain text, images, and it's a really nice way to just get your ideas out there and to show visual ways and a relaxed way of presenting a timeline pretty much of your entire course. So an example of me using it for images, let's say I want to go look at my storyboard here, and I use labels, as that's what I label each of my things. So I've got my storyboard and my rough cut. It allows me to upload images here and my final storyboard here. Again, it also lets me upload videos as well, or links to YouTube. So I'll click on this link here, and it's a very easy way for people to come on here, look at it, give me feedback, or even just for me to post my work on here, so I can upload videos to my YouTube channel. YouTube is the second thing I used in the planning stages and research, because I was using YouTube to search for related videos of what I want to research into. So in this example, I'm using a music video. When I was researching what song I want to look into or to actually do for my final piece, I would look at a few songs and there'd be a suggested tab on the side that would just give me a few songs that are similar but just slightly different, and it also let me look at a few examples of current A2 media students' work and get a real more understanding of what the subject is requiring from me. Okay, so that's the planning and research section done, but now this is when the real technologies really start developing in my area, I feel. So this is the actual construction of the product. So for the entire editing process, I use a project called iMovie. As you can see on the screen at the moment, you are seeing my final timeline for my final cut of Polarize with Michael there in the video. So as you can see here, there's small areas with turtles, and I'm not sure, there's a few hairs, yeah, there's a couple here. So these me speeding up and slowing down time. It's a real simple way of showing clips to fit the structure of a music video, and I found this really useful actually, because getting in a music video the lip syncing bang on sometimes is not down to your editing skills and clipping it together. It's actually down to the singer maybe singing it too quickly or too slowly because they can't hear the music very well. So this is a really good tool just to really line the entire thing up and smooth it, and also just to get the story really tight and crisp and landing on every beat, every transition. Anyway, talk about transitions, that's the next thing I want to talk about is here. These are a little transition. You can adjust the length of them. I stuck to the same transition throughout the entire clip, video I mean, and it's just a fade to back default one for 1 second, and it fades back into shot here, as you can see. I'll give it a little play. So maybe you can see it fading out and in. That's it. So basically I like this fade to black effect because it's a very dark, very emotional, very slow video, and I want the transition to stay into black just for a brief second for the viewer to reflect on what they're seeing. So that's how I use this iMovie. And a couple of other things I quickly want to touch on of what I did in iMovie was the picture-in-picture shot is what I'll be doing for the green screen, because to get the letterbox filter on the actual iMovie is very, very hard to do, because it doesn't really want you to do it. It's not a thing that they really implemented into their software. So what I did is I managed to go online, find an image of the green screen with the two edges blacked out, and I put a picture-in-picture green/blue screen here, and that allowed me to add the black bars as the video is just being what the green screen is. And I think at the start you can see where this is slightly poor because there's a couple of lines just about there on the edge. You can see the border, and I got all around this by doing a fade from black in to the actual video, so it covered up these golden lines, if to say. Then finally, a couple other things. I adjusted the video and audio effects, so a couple of effects. I used an effect called film grain, adjusted it slightly to get this more grainy looking effect. As you can see there, it's not full, it's got a bit of grain, as you can see with the clouds there. And I also cropped it to fit. I did a couple of colour adjustments as well to change the brightness here, and the brightness. This is the actual this is the colour coming through, so darkness, and the contrast. This is the amount of colour comes through, so that the hue as well. I increase this on the shots at the end. Here, with Michael singing, I increase this to make it look more vibrant. And that's really all I did in iMovie. iMovie at the moment I use as a sticking and pasting tool, I think, just to glue the entire thing together, because a lot of the stuff I did was through After Effects as well. And I'll now give a touch on that quickly as well. So basically this is what iMovie is about, just cutting the whole thing together, and I use the technology in a way that was just to make it look really professional and well-rounded. That's what I was going for. So the next piece that I was going on to is my After Effects. So basically After Effects, what this did was, here's a couple of screenshots from the After Effects projects I had up. So After Effects, in the technologies, the way I used it was, I had an effect called Leave Colour, as you can see highlighted up here. And this is in the shots where I have the bottle is coloured orange and the background is black and white. The way I did this was by just adding 2 tracks of the same footage, exactly the same timing as well. Made both tracks fully black and white with the tint effect, and then on the top layer I used Leave Colour. Leave Colour is basically a tool where you can use the eyedropper tool here and highlight the colour that you want it to leave. It's that simple. So it really does what it says on the tin. And basically you can adjust the tolerance and edge softness to get the nice, well-rounded, moving image. And so yeah, that's very self-explanatory. In After Effects I use a couple of other effects as well. I use an effect called CC Particles. Basically the CC Particles, I had to do a lot of adjustments in this, and just small adjustments to make it look realistic. Because really, the way I did this was changing the birth rate, the longevity, the producer, the physics, which is like the gravity and the position, and it was very, very, very hard to do. I use YouTube again though in this technology to learn how to do this in their tutorials and seeing other people do it. So that's another use of YouTube I've used. So basically I'd adjust the birth rate to basically give birth to the particles every time Owen, my drummer there, hits the snare drum. I would then move the physics about it, so I'd move it into the screen, line it up with the snare drum, and I'd also give it a floor, so I'd do a scan over the drum, give it a floor so it can bounce on the snare drum and it looks really realistic. Change the colour, change the gravity, change the way it explodes out, change the amount of time it stays on the screen for until it fades away, change the amount that come out with every hit. Just lots of small adjustments to really try and make it look realistic, and that's really how I did that one. There's a lot of detail I could go into there, but we'd be here for a long time. Okay, so the next part in construction, another technology, is actually a piece of technology I have here with me. So I will show you this. It's my Nikon D3100 camera, DSLR camera. The way I used this to film was with the manual focus selected here, as you can see, and I would manually adjust the focus on the lens. The reason I wanted this is because this way I can adjust the focus to how I want it exactly, and I find it a lot easier to do that. And I can also adjust the focus mid-shot, which is a very nice thing to have, because on my final shot, when I'm with the spray can in the foreground and I fade to the sky, I'm actually adjusting the focus to make the sky blur as I move up, and it just gives it a nice rounded effect when you use that blur in conjunction to having a black fade in iMovie again, which is another technology. So that's basically the Nikon. It's very basic the way I used it. I just use my manual autofocus, and I use the flower setting on here, which is mainly for close-ups. And the reason I use that for close-ups is because I feel like it just gives a crisper image when shooting, really, video, because this is obviously made for images, not for video. It's not this prime purpose. And I just, for personal preference, I just prefer the flower icon. I think it gives a nicer image, a more professional looking video, and that's why I use that, solely because I just personal preference. So that's that. The next piece in production is my album cover, and I did this in Photoshop. So here's the album cover, and that's the mock album cover. This is the final album cover, so you can see the changes there to the left hand panel. This is the inside of the cover, and this is the poster. So I'll talk about this and the way I made it in Photoshop. And this is the Photoshop that I used. Here's the album cover. So basically, the way I use Photoshop when making this album cover, very basic stuff first, so I'll talk you through that. It's just black background, very simple. Text, which is just the text tool down here. put that round, put a few images, rectangle shapes by using the rectangle shape tool, which is up here. Excuse me. Then I added a few images, the barcode, the parent advisory explicit thing by using file place and placing embedded, placing an image in. Very simple again with Michael's face. But here's where it gets harder. The lens flare was in the filter gallery, and I added the lens flare through here. So lens correction, I added my own lens flare through that. And with Michael's face, as you can see, he has his face going behind the letters. So this is actually not the same project that I used it in, so I can't show you exactly, but I can give you a quick example. So I'll create a text layer, and I'll say 21 pilots. I'll put 20 as an example. So you have the text 20, and you go into this tab down here, which is effects, and then you can put the colour overlay. So basically, with the colour overlay, it allows you to change the colour that's over it and the opacity. Now this is a different make of Photoshop that I use personally in school because this is a newer model and they remove this effect in the newer model. So the way I did it was there's another tab open here and it allows you to remove the text and make it a plain layer. So basically the text is acting as a way to remove the black here and to reveal Michael's face behind. And I think that was a really nice effect because the whole theme was polarised and seeing things in a different way, and I think there's a nice play on words there with that looks very professional. The next piece of technology I would use in Photoshop was the inside of the cover. Now this was a very different approach. I wasn't going for many of effects through Photoshop. I went for more simple stuff but using it in a good way, and I'll explain how. So I imported the image of Michael here, and that's a screenshot from my actual video. And I imported the hedge as well, and the image of the disc was imported later on. The background of the sky isn't actually the sky from the music video, because if you notice in the music video it's just a plain white overcast sky. So I got this image from the internet, and it's just a sunset image that I expanded up to the size I want, positioned it where I wanted to, and then this is where the magic bit happens. I went to filter, then filter gallery, and what the filter gallery does is provides me with basically a gallery of filters. So you go into here and you have many different ones. So I could go for palette knife. I know that looks awful, but that's why I didn't choose this one. You can adjust it here, do a little different adjustments, but the one I went for was actually in the brushstrokes one, and oh no, it's not, it's post edges, sorry about that. So post edges here, it looks a bit funny because it's got two of the layers over the top of each other, so it's just double post edges. And you can adjust the edge thickness, so I had mine very low, edge intensity is very low, and the posterization is quite high. And look, you can see basically it looks like I haven't done anything to it. So that's how I got that effect, and it sort of makes everything look smoother and blend in like each other, and you'd never be able to tell this background image here is different to this one. I think it gives a very nice effect. Finally, I added an outer glow to Michael, which in here is effects, outer glow, and that's made a little white outer glow on Michael, which is very simple again. So that's the album covers done, and finally this is when it gets really complicated in Photoshop, the poster. Now the poster here is something that I am really proud of doing, but it's very difficult to do. So you know the lens flare is the same as this lens flare on this one, and the image of Michael's face is an image I took of Michael just staring at the camera. I imported the image into Photoshop, and then I got the text from a website where you can import, you can type in your own text and you can save it as an image of the text in different directions. And I duplicated that so many times. And then I went into the, I believe it was in the 3D file area. And what I did with the 3D is I went down to make a 3D extrusion from selected layer, and Photoshop scanned the entire image of Michael's face and it realised where the closer parts were. So his nose, his head was further back, his nose was the furthest out, his lips were further out than his chin. And it sort of, if you look in here closely, if I zoom right in, about 500%, you'll see that the words are actually slightly warped to arrange to the shape of his face. Okay, So that's to make it a little bit more of a realistic feel. But the actual way I got the image through was, again, like I did with the album cover, and use the image as the text is just a way to get rid of the black. And I coloured it by highlighting the areas to make this really white, so I made the different colour of the text to match the colour of his face, and put his face behind the image and increase the opacity as well. It's quite hard to explain physically without it here in front of me, but that's my way of walking you through how I made this, and I think it worked really well in the end, and I learned so much about Photoshop this year by doing this. Finally, that's all the production done. Finally, in the evaluation section, this is how I'm making my video right now. So I'll show you. This is the type of technology that I'm using at the moment. It's called QuickTime Player, and I'm doing a screen recording with it. So if I highlight QuickTime Player here, File, and you see new screen recording is currently deselected because I'm doing a screen recording up here, and this is how I stop the screen recording. And it's just recording the whole screen as I speak right now. I can do anything on here. I'm going to switch slides, and it will just do it on screen for you right there. And the way I'm recording my face is by having a video up here, and this is me. So, hello again. You'll probably see me twice on the screen now, but that's me on here. And I export that video and use it into iMovie again. And let's say I have a piece of footage here. This is my screen recording, and I'd use a picture-in-picture effect with my footage of my face up here, green screen, put it picture-in-picture, and look, green screen is now in my actual footage. And you can make it bigger, make it smaller, you can position it where you want. And that's how I've been making my evaluation questions. Then I've been uploading it to YouTube. Don't know what's happened there. My blog's gone. But I've been uploading it to YouTube, and then to Blogger, and the same way with all my research and planning ways. So basically this has been the way I make my, I've used technology, and the way I've used it in my research and planning, my final, my actual creation of the project, and my evaluation questions. I hope you've learned a lot here of what I've done, and I hope you understand what I've done, and I'll see you in the next evaluation question. Thanks.